Wycombe Wanderers lose at Wembley before they come into this big game against Derby County. Now, Wycombe Wanderers, their season is now pretty much over. They have nothing to fight for in the league, and they failed to beat Peterborugh in Wembley due to a last-minute winner from Harrison Burrows. Derby County will go to Adams Park in much better confidence, and Derby County going off the back of a 2-2 draw with Portsmouth just last week. They've had a week off, essentially. I think it works out being about 8 days, I think, if I've got it right. Tuesday to Wednesday. Joe Ward bagged twice in that game. Paul Warne, very impressed with the defensive performance of Derby County. But this week, we need to see some attacking prowess and defensive prowess, as we need to come away with all 3 points. Obviously, the league table looks a little bit different from the last time I spoke to you about a Derby County game. After that game, Derby were 4 points clear of Bolton, but now the league table looks a little different. We'll take a look at that in just a moment, but first, let's get into this Wycombe Wanderers preview. Let's talk about the recent form of both sides, and then we'll take a look at the league table. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner. We're doing loads of League One and Derby County content over the next few weeks as the season draws to a close. So make sure you stick around by hitting that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts on who's going to get promoted down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next part of the video. So here we have it then. Derby County will head to Wycombe. They'll face Wycombe Wanderers at Adams Park. Now, they've played this fixture 3 times in League One so far. Derby County coming out victorious on only one occasion back in September of 2022 under the previous management of Liam Rossini. Now, Derby lost to Wycombe Wanderers last season. Sort of not this same point, it was in February, but it really had like a negative effect on Derby County's season. They were in some really good form, and that 3-2 defeat to Wycombe Wanderers just sort of spiralled Derby out of control. And then obviously earlier on this year, on the 16th of December, the sides drew 1-1 with a late Luke Lehigh penalty. Now, Wycombe Wanderers will come into this game sort of, I don't really know. It's going to be weird to look into this game as a Wycombe fan, really, because they dropped the ball in the EFL Trophy final, conceded a really late goal from a Harrison Burrows cross. It just went in at the back sticks. Keeper couldn't get anywhere near it. Very good finish from Burrows, but disappointing for Wycombe Wanderers. Now, obviously, Matt Bloomfield will be hoping that his side can turn up and get 3 points in this game, just because will Rob Couhig, the Wycombe Wanderers owner, want to get one over on Derby again? Absolutely. And if we just scroll down now and take a look at both sides' recent form, like as you can see, they haven't won in 3 games, whereas Derby have won 3 of their past 5 games. Wycombe Wanderers winning 2 games against Northampton and Wigan Athletic. Recently lost 3-1 to Portsmouth, obviously the 0-0 draw with Blackpool, and the 2-1 EFL Trophy defeat to Peterborugh United. Now, obviously, Derby coming to the back off a 2-2 draw with Portsmouth. Now, obviously, at the time of that draw, it was a very, very important point. And as you can see by the league table on the right-hand side, it keeps Derby ahead in second place. Now, obviously, if Derby win this game, they go 4 points clear, but Bolton will still have a game in hand. But Bolton do play Portsmouth at the weekend, so that's going to be an intriguing one to look into. Obviously, Derby's most disappointing result is that Northampton defeat. If they'd have won that game, they'd currently be sitting really pretty in League One, 4 points clear, and Bolton with some difficult games coming up. Now, obviously, there's 4 games left in this league campaign. Shall we take a look at the league table and where both sides are in more of a full standing? So if you look down towards the bottom of your screen now, you can see Wycombe Wanderers are currently sitting in 14th place. 40 games played, 51 points collected, 51 goals scored, 52 conceded. Now, they do have 2 games in hand on Wigan, Exeter, Orient, Stevenage, Blackpool, Lincoln and Oxford. Now, obviously, that only really matters up to 6 points ahead, so it only really matters up to sort of Northampton. They have 3 games on Northampton, so they could end up finishing a lot higher than they're currently sitting, but realistically, they're not going to get relegated. They're not going to get promoted. So they've not really got a great deal to play for. And obviously this weekend there's been a lot of big results. I did do a review video, so make sure you go and check that out over on my channel if you haven't already checked it out. And then I have also previewed this week's upcoming fixtures. But as a Derby fan, always want to preview this one in much more detail. And as you can see, Derby do sit second, 25 wins, 7 draws, 10 losses from their 42 games, 72 goals scored, 37 conceded, the second best defence in the league, 35 goals on goal difference, and 82 points. Now, it's not quite the 2 points a game which Paul Warne thinks you need to get promoted, which, to be fair to you, if we was on 84 points, we'd be in a much better position heading into this game at Wycombe. Probably be able to snatch a draw rather than needing to win, but obviously that's just the way things go. But shall we now take a look into Wycombe Wanderers manager and their squad as well while we're at it. So here is the Wycombe Wanderers manager, Matt Bloomfield. Now, he played his entire senior footballing career with Wycombe Wanderers from August 2008 to February 2022. That's a 14-year career. He played 361 games, scoring 24 goals. After his playing career ended, he did find himself as a coach. I think he was at Wycombe for a while as well, but then he also went to Colchester United, where he put up 1.2 points per game with a 33% win rate. And then at Wycombe Wanderers, it's a 1.4 point per game with a 39% win rate. That's seen him win 26 out of his 66 games with 16 draws and 24 losses. Now, Matt Bloomfield will come into this game with a bit of disappointment following the defeat at Wembely, especially the way in which they did lose, because they conceded, and then like a couple of minutes after they scored, Dale Taylor with his first goal, first touch of the game, went straight in the back of the net. That was like really good for Wycombe, and it looked as if they were going to take it to penalties, but failure to close down Harrison Burrows on the edge of the box, and we all know what Burrows can do for that Peterborough side. He's got a wand of a foot, and he puts in some really good balls, and you can tell by his numbers this season, Harrison Burrows, if you want to go and check him out at Peterborough, his numbers this season are incredible for a left-back, and that's just another goal to add to his tally. Right at the end, just as they hit stoppage time, and then Wycombe just weren't able to get back into the game. You'll have to let me know your thoughts about that game down in the comments down below. But for me, Matt Bloomfield will come into this a little bit disappointed, but I think he'll have some hope heading into next season. But obviously, there's not much more they can do now in this one. So, as I mentioned, Dale Taylor, 20-year-old striker from striker attacking midfielder from Northern Ireland. Obviously, this season, he started 29 matches, scoring 5 goals, no assists. He is on loan from Nottingham Forest, as it says on the right-hand side. He did spend time at Burton Albion as well, where he scored 5 goals in 20 appearances. So, he has been a key player for them, starting 29 out of 36 with 2,500 minutes played. Very good player for them, and it's going to be one that Derby need to keep quiet. So now we do look into Wycombe Wanderers, and if you look at those numbers on the screen, you can probably tell why they are where they are in the league. Their top goal scorer is Luke Lehigh, who has played a lot of his time at left back. He is their penalty taker as well, and he's even on his expected goals, as you can see on the right hand side, 8 expected goals, and he has scored 8. He's also collected 6 assists, so that's 14 goal contributions for him. Dale Taylor is their next best goal scorer with 5, and Joseph Lowe with 4. But as you can see, they don't have many goals in the team, and obviously we go back to I think at the league table, I think it was 52 they've scored, or 51, and like they just need to do a bit more. Freddie Potts, I believe he's on loan from West Ham, played in the game at Wembely, put in a fairly decent performance in my opinion, and is averaging a 7.28 this season. Lehigh averaging a 7.49. He's one of the key players for Wycombe Wanderers. But shall we take a look into my predicted lineup for Derby County, and then let's have a bit of a chat about what could happen in these final 4 games. So you could probably guess I'm not going to make any changes to this team heading into this game. I thought they performed really well against Pompey, and to be honest with you, if we put in that same performance and score twice against Wycombe, we'd probably win the game. But obviously, Pompey are just a different beast this season. Only lost 4 times all year, collecting 12 draws, Pompey. But Wycombe Wanderers aren't that same side. I was watching, obviously, the EFL Trophy game, and I thought Wycombe were a really good side. But I think we have more than enough to get a victory out of this game. So, going through the team then, I've gone with Wildsmith in goal. Even if Vickers is available, which I believe he is now. I believe he's on the bench at Pompey. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100%. But even if Vickers was available, Wildsmith has done everything he can to keep the number 1 shirt. Obviously, we've got no Ryan Niambi. So for me, Kane Wilson stays at right back. I'm not 100% sure, but Sonny Bradley might be back for this one. When did he get sent off? Sonny Bradley got sent off at Northampton. No, this is the last one where Sonny Bradley is out. So my 2 centre-halves will be Cashin and Nelson. Even if Bradley was available, I don't think I'd change it, to be completely honest. I don't think we need to go to a 3, especially in the position we're in. I think we've got to come away from... We've got to win our 4 games. Like, even if Bolton don't win, we've got to win, because I don't want to go into Carlisle on the final day of the season needing a point or a win, because I know what happens when Derby need that, and you only have to queue Reading at home a couple of years ago. Well, I say a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2016, 2017 maybe, where we got battered 3-0 despite having a penalty to go 1-0 up, I believe, or to draw the game level at one point. Stupid game, and I don't want to see that happen to Derby again, especially at home. Then obviously Sibley at left back. Even if Elder or Fozzie is fit, for me Sibley's got to stay in. He's been a revelation in my opinion, and he's really turned a lot of opinions around about him, in my opinion. Obviously, a lot of people want Sibley to play in the number 10, and I am fully one of those. I'd love to see him in that number 10 role, but he really seems to have found a home at left back, and he seems to be doing really well and really enjoying playing there. So for me, keep him there. Obviously, the midfield 2, Adams and Smith, for me, they're working really well together. Smith, more of a technical player. Adams, more of a run around, kick you, win the ball, get around the pitch. And Adams has shown like the quality he has. Smith has been brilliant recently as well. So I'd keep those 2 in together. Obviously, Joe Ward speaks for himself. Picking up a double against Pompey isn't easy, and the way he scored his goals as well. A player you'd have thought had 10, 15 goals this season. 2 amazing finishers for me. He's got to stay on that right-hand side. Although I do think we could have Max Bird and Barkhazen back for this, but obviously we'll have to wait and see from Paul Warne's presser. He might speak to Radio Derby today, because I believe Radio Derby are there on Monday. I'm filming this on Sunday, so when I say today, I mean Monday when you're watching this. Corey Blackett-Taylor, I think he's really, really come of age in this Derby County side. Since we had those injuries and he was essentially thrown in, I think he's done brilliant. I think he really showed what he's capable of against Pompey. That run through the middle, he's done similar to that in a Charlton shirt. And since coming into this Derby County side, he never really set the world alight, but he's finally getting to his feet, and he gets an assist the other night for Joe Ward, and that's very important heading into the final 4 games. If he can pick up a couple of goals and a couple of wins, he really deserves the promotion. And obviously you then have to look at the front 2. Now, it does have James Close and Mendes-Lang as a front 2. Now, I'm not particularly fond of Mendes-Lang being central, but I think if you give him a free role and sort of let him, Ward and Blackett-Taylor sort of roam about a bit, I think you could have a lot of freedom in that front 3. And then obviously if you've got that freedom with the front 3, you can just have Collins pushing their back 4, back 5, back whatever Wycombe decide to go with. Because obviously then with Collins, we have a player who's not really going to... Yes, he drops in, moves about, like, we know he does. But, I mean, like, Collins is one of those strikers that will just go and sit and push them back, which opens up space in the middle of the park for the likes of Blackett-Taylor, Joe Ward, Mendes-Lang, Smith to get on the ball and play. Obviously, there is, like, Liam Thompson, Conor Horahan, who have missed out of this, and the potential for Max Bird and Tom Barkhazen to be available. But I have a feeling this is just going to be one game too soon for the likes of Barkhazen, Gale, Bird to come back into the fold. I think they'll probably be back for Leyton Orient at the weekend at Pride Park. That's going to be a really, really important game. So, yeah, that is the team I've predicted. That is the preview of this Wycombe Wanderers game. Obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I think it's going to be a very interesting one to keep an eye on for all of the fans in League One. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be a game for the neutral, but I think Derby are going to have to bring that effective style of play that they've brought all season. I can't see Paul Warne changing his ways at this point of the season, but we can't sit on a 1-goal lead, not against Wycombe, not against anybody for this final 4 games, because conceding late on, it can have a real impact on confidence. So for me, we've got to go out and try and get 2-3 goals at this Wycombe game. Do I think it's going to happen? Potentially not. But I think a win here is massively important for our season. I do think even if we drop points, I do think it's still in our hands given the games that Bolton still have left. Obviously, Bolton could go and win all 4 games. But do I think that's likely? Probably not. They've only just gone 2 wins in a row for the first time since January. Their best run was back in October, I believe it was. I did put a tweet out on Twitter where they won 6 in a row in League One. Do I think they're going to do that again? 'Cause that's what they're going to have to do if they want to push us all the way. So for me, Derby have to pick up 3 points to negate that Bolton game in hand. Do I think Derby can do it? Absolutely. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. While you're down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.